Your attitude is everything. This book is written for one simple reason: to help you understand that the most powerful force shaping your life is not your background, your resources, your intelligence, or your luck. It is your attitude. Long before circumstances change, long before results appear, long before success or failure becomes visible to the world, attitude silently decides the direction of your life. Many people spend their lives waiting for the right opportunity, waiting for confidence, waiting for motivation, waiting for someone to believe in them. But what they often do not realize is that attitude does not wait. It acts. It moves. It shapes decisions in silence and builds outcomes slowly, day by day. Two people can face the same hardship, walk the same road, and experience completely different destinies. The difference is rarely talent. The difference is attitude. This book is not written to impress you with complex theories or academic language. It is written to speak to you like a calm, honest voice that understands struggle, doubt, fear, ambition, and hope. It is written for students, teachers, professionals, parents, dreamers, and anyone who feels that life could be better but is unsure where to begin. It is written especially for those moments when you feel tired, unseen, or stuck, and you wonder whether change is still possible. Attitude is not about pretending everything is perfect. It is not about toxic positivity or forcing a smile when your heart is heavy. True attitude is deeper than emotion. It is the lens through which you interpret life. It is the inner decision you make when no one is watching. It is how you respond when things do not go your way. It is how you speak to yourself when you fail. And most importantly, it is how you rise after you fall. Throughout this book, you will encounter stories that feel real because they are inspired by real human experiences. They are not copied from any copyrighted source. They are drawn from universal truths, common struggles, and timeless lessons that have existed long before books were written. These stories are here not to entertain you for a moment, but to stay with you long after you close this book or finish listening to it as an audiobook. This book is also written with education in mind. Every lesson is rooted in principles that are widely accepted in psychology, personal development, and human behavior, without quoting or copying any specific copyrighted material. The ideas are explained in simple language so they can be understood by anyone, regardless of background or education level. If you are listening to this book, imagine it as a conversation rather than a lecture. There is no rush. There is no pressure. You do not need to agree with everything immediately. Just listen with an open mind. Let the ideas settle. Let the stories speak. Let your own experiences connect with what you hear. By the end of this journey, the goal is not to turn you into someone else. The goal is to help you see what has always been within you. Because once you truly understand the power of your attitude, you realize that no external force has more control over your life than the way you choose to think, respond, and persist. No loud alarms, no rushing crowds. Just the slow opening of shop doors and the familiar faces of people who had lived there all their lives. In that town lived two young men, both the same age, both from similar families, both with similar education. On paper, there was nothing that separated them, yet their lives unfolded in completely different ways. The first young man believed that life was unfair. He believed that success belonged to the lucky and that effort often went unnoticed. When something went wrong, he blamed circumstances. When an opportunity slipped away, he blamed timing. He worked, but without belief. He tried, but without hope. Slowly, disappointment became his comfort zone. The second young man faced the same limitations. The same lack of resources. The same small-town boundaries. But his inner conversation was different. He believed that effort mattered even when results were delayed. He believed that learning came from failure. When things went wrong, he asked what he could improve. When opportunities were scarce, he created skills instead of excuses. Years later, people in the town often spoke about destiny. They said one was lucky and the other was not. But the truth was simpler and more powerful. Their attitudes had quietly shaped their choices, their habits, and their futures. Attitude is the invisible architect of your life. You may not notice it daily, but it influences everything. The way you wake up in the morning, the way you speak to people, the way you react to criticism, the way you interpret silence, rejection, and delay. Attitude decides whether you see obstacles or lessons, threats or challenges, endings or beginnings. Many people underestimate attitude because it cannot be measured easily. You cannot hold it in your hand. You cannot see it on a resume, but you can see its results everywhere. In resilience, in consistency, in growth, in peace of mind. Attitude determines whether pressure breaks you or builds you. From an educational perspective, attitude plays a critical role in learning and development. A student who believes intelligence can grow will approach challenges differently than one who believes ability is fixed. A professional who sees feedback as guidance will grow faster than one who sees it as an attack. These differences are not accidental. They are rooted in mindset and attitude. There is a quiet moment in every person's life when attitude is tested. It is not during celebration. It is during disappointment. It is when effort does not bring immediate reward. It is when no one is clapping. It is when quitting feels easier than continuing. In that moment, attitude becomes a choice. This choice does not require perfection. It does not demand constant motivation. It only requires honesty. An honest look at how you respond internally. Do you collapse inward, or do you adjust and move forward? Do you speak to yourself with cruelty or with discipline and compassion? One of the most powerful shifts you can make is moving from a reactive attitude to a responsible one. Reactive attitude says, "This happened to me." Responsible attitude says, "This happened. Now what will I do with it?" This small shift changes everything. It returns power to your hands. People with strong attitudes are not fearless. They feel doubt and fear like everyone else. The difference is that they do not let those emotions make their decisions. They act despite uncertainty. They commit despite discomfort. Over time, this creates confidence not as a feeling, but as a result of repeated action. As this book unfolds, you will learn how attitude influences discipline, confidence, relationships, failure, success, and inner peace. You will learn how to rebuild attitude when it is damaged and how to protect it when life becomes noisy and demanding. This first chapter is an invitation to observe yourself without judgment, to notice patterns, to become aware of the inner voice that guides your daily choices. Because awareness is the first step to change. Your attitude has been shaping your life long before you became conscious of it. From this moment forward, you have the opportunity to shape it intentionally. And that is where real transformation begins. Chapter 2. There is a moment in every life that goes unnoticed. It is not dramatic. It does not arrive with warning. It is the moment when a person begins to speak to themselves in a certain way and does not stop. Over time, that inner voice becomes familiar, and familiarity turns into belief. Belief turns into behavior, and behavior quietly shapes destiny. A young woman once sat alone in a classroom long after everyone had left. The lights were still on, the chairs were empty, and the silence felt heavier than noise. She had failed an exam she believed would change her life. As she stared at the paper, two voices began to speak inside her. One said, "You are not good enough. You never were." The other said, "This hurts, but it is not the end." One voice wanted to end the story. The other wanted to rewrite it. Most people think attitude is about how you act in front of others. In truth, attitude is revealed most clearly in how you speak to yourself when no one else is listening. Your inner dialogue is the foundation of your confidence, your courage, and your resilience. If that dialogue is harsh, hopeless, or defeatist, even the strongest opportunities will feel heavy. If it is disciplined, honest, and forward-looking, even failure becomes manageable. From an educational perspective, the brain responds to repetition. What you repeatedly tell yourself becomes familiar, and familiarity becomes comfort, even when it is harmful. A negative inner voice can feel truthful simply because it has been repeated for years. This does not mean it is accurate. It only means it has been rehearsed. Many people unknowingly sabotage themselves through language. They say things like, "I always fail, I am bad at this, nothing ever works out for me." These statements may feel harmless, but they shape perception. When your mind expects failure, it unconsciously looks for evidence to confirm it. When your mind expects growth, it becomes alert to possibility. Attitude is not about lying to yourself. It is not about saying everything is fine when it is not. It is about choosing language that keeps you moving forward instead of trapping you in self-judgment. There is a powerful difference between saying, "I failed," and saying, "I learned something." One closes the door. The other keeps it open. Consider how children learn. They fall repeatedly before they walk. They mispronounce words before they speak clearly. They fail hundreds of times, yet they do not conclude that they are incapable. Somewhere along the journey to adulthood, many people lose this natural learning attitude and replace it with fear of embarrassment or judgment. This fear does not come from reality. It comes from interpretation. Attitude determines whether mistakes feel like proof of inadequacy or evidence of effort. In learning environments, students who view errors as part of growth progress faster and retain knowledge longer. The same principle applies to life. There is also a quiet power in neutrality. Not every thought deserves emotional reaction. Some thoughts are habits, not truths. Developing a strong attitude means learning to observe thoughts without immediately believing them. This skill alone can change how you experience stress, failure, and uncertainty. A man once worked for years without recognition. Promotions went to others. Praise was rare. Slowly, resentment began to shape his attitude. His work became mechanical. His curiosity faded. What he did not realize was that his attitude was hurting him more than the lack of recognition. When he finally chose to work with pride again, not for approval, but for self-respect, opportunities returned. Not instantly, but steadily. Attitude influences not only outcomes, but energy. People are naturally drawn to those who carry calm determination. In classrooms, workplaces, and communities, attitude becomes contagious. One person's resilience can quietly lift others. One person's bitterness can silently drain an entire room. This chapter invites you to listen closely to your inner voice, not to judge it, but to understand it. Ask yourself simple questions. How do I speak to myself when I fail? How do I explain setbacks? Do my words encourage movement or reinforce fear? Changing attitude does not require dramatic declarations. It begins with small adjustments in language, patience with yourself, and awareness. Over time, these small changes reshape confidence from the inside. Your attitude is speaking even when your mouth is silent. Learning to guide that voice is one of the most important skills you will ever develop. Chapter 3. There is a certain weight that comes with disappointment. It does not always arrive loudly. Sometimes it settles quietly in the chest, slowing thoughts, dulling motivation, and changing how the future is imagined. Everyone carries this weight at some point. What separates people is not whether they feel it, but how their attitude teaches them to carry it. A boy once dreamed of becoming something more than what his surroundings suggested. His world was small, defined by limits that had existed long before he was born. Teachers did their best, resources were few, and expectations were even fewer. When he spoke about his dreams, some smiled politely, others laughed softly, and a few discouraged him openly. None of them believed they were hurting him. They were simply passing on the attitude they themselves had learned. At first, the boy pushed forward with excitement. Then, rejection began to arrive. Not once, but repeatedly. Each no felt heavier than the last. Slowly, his attitude shifted from hope to caution. He still dreamed, but quietly. He still worked, but without belief. What he did not realize was that disappointment was not destroying his dream. His interpretation of it was. Disappointment becomes dangerous only when it convinces you that effort is pointless. When attitude turns disappointment into a permanent conclusion rather than a temporary experience, growth stops. Many people confuse failure with finality. They see one closed door and assume the entire building is locked. Resilience is not the absence of disappointment. It is the decision not to let disappointment define your identity. A resilient attitude does not deny pain. It acknowledges it, processes it, and then chooses to continue anyway. This choice is rarely dramatic. It happens quietly, often when no one is watching. From an educational perspective, resilience is closely connected to persistence. Learning does not move in a straight line. Progress includes confusion, frustration, mistakes, and slow days. A learner with a weak attitude sees these moments as proof of inadequacy. A learner with a resilient attitude sees them as part of the process. Consider how nature works. A tree does not grow upward without resistance. Wind strengthens its trunk. Storms deepen its roots. If conditions were always perfect, the tree would be fragile. Human growth follows a similar pattern. Difficulty, when met with the right attitude, becomes a source of strength rather than damage. Many people believe resilience means being emotionally tough all the time. This belief creates unnecessary pressure. Resilience is not about never feeling tired, discouraged, or doubtful. It is about recovering without losing direction. It is about allowing emotions to pass without letting them take control of decisions. A woman once worked for years toward a goal that seemed increasingly distant. Each setback chipped away at her confidence. Friends advised her to choose something easier. Family members worried about her persistence. One night, she sat alone questioning everything. She did not feel strong. She did not feel motivated. What she felt was tired. Yet she made one small decision. She decided not to quit that night. Not forever, just that night. That single decision mattered, because resilience is often built one day at a time. It is built in moments when you choose to pause instead of quit, to rest instead of surrender, to adjust instead of abandon. Attitude determines how you interpret delay. Delay can feel like rejection, or it can feel like preparation. The experience is the same. The meaning is different, and meaning shapes behavior. A person who believes delay is proof of failure withdraws effort. A person who believes delay is part of growth, refines skill. There is also a quiet form of resilience that often goes unnoticed. It is the resilience of showing up when enthusiasm is gone, of practicing when progress feels invisible, of continuing when external validation is absent. This form of resilience is powered entirely by attitude. In many educational and professional environments, success is often attributed to talent. But talent alone rarely sustains long-term effort. Attitude does. The ability to tolerate discomfort, to accept imperfection, and to remain committed through uncertainty is what carries people forward when talent reaches its limit. Resilience also changes how you view others. When your attitude becomes resilient, you stop measuring yourself against timelines that were never meant for you. You stop resenting others for their progress. You begin to focus on consistency rather than comparison. This shift brings peace. The boy from the small town eventually realized something important. Every person who doubted him was not predicting his future. They were revealing their own limits. Their attitudes had shaped their expectations, but those expectations did not have to become his reality. Once he understood this, disappointment lost its authority. Your attitude gives disappointment either a voice or a boundary. You decide whether it speaks for a moment or stays forever. You decide whether it teaches you or defines you. Resilience is not built by avoiding hardship. It is built by responding to hardship with patience, curiosity, and responsibility. It is built by asking better questions and refusing to let temporary pain become permanent identity. As you move forward, understand this clearly. You do not need to be fearless to be resilient. You only need to be willing to continue while afraid. That willingness, repeated over time, becomes strength. Your attitude in moments of disappointment is shaping a version of you that either retreats or rises. Choose carefully. Quiet choices create powerful futures. Chapter 4. There is a moment in every journey when motivation fades. Not because the goal is no longer important, but because the distance between effort and reward begins to feel too long. This is where many people stop. Not because they cannot continue, but because their attitude was built on motivation instead of discipline. Motivation is emotional. It rises and falls. It responds to excitement, praise, and visible progress. Discipline is different. Discipline is quiet. It does not ask how you feel. It asks what needs to be done. Attitude determines which one you rely on when life becomes repetitive, demanding, or dull. A young man once decided to change his life. He planned carefully, felt inspired, and started with intensity. The first few weeks were powerful. He woke early, worked hard, and imagined a future version of himself that felt within reach. Then, routine arrived. Days began to feel similar. Results slowed. Praise disappeared. Slowly, motivation faded. What saved him was not renewed excitement. It was a shift in attitude. He stopped asking himself whether he felt like continuing. Instead, he began asking whether continuing aligned with the person he wanted to become. This small change transformed effort from a feeling-based action into an identity-based commitment. Discipline is often misunderstood. Many people believe it requires harshness or self-punishment. In reality, discipline is an act of self-respect. It is the decision to honor commitments made to yourself, even when no one is watching. It is not about being perfect. It is about being consistent. From an educational perspective, discipline plays a crucial role in mastery. Skills are not built in moments of inspiration. They are built through repetition. Repetition requires patience. Patience requires attitude. A learner with the right attitude understands that progress is often invisible before it becomes obvious. Consider how habits are formed. Every habit begins as an intentional action. Over time, that action becomes easier, then automatic. Attitude determines whether you persist long enough for this transformation to occur. Without the right attitude, effort feels heavy. With it, effort becomes routine. There is a silent power in showing up. Not dramatically, not impressively, just consistently. Many people underestimate this power because it does not look exciting. Yet over time, consistency separates those who wish from those who become. Discipline also protects you during emotional storms. When confidence drops, discipline remains. When enthusiasm disappears, discipline remains. When self-doubt becomes loud, discipline continues quietly in the background. This stability is created by attitude. A woman once committed to learning a new skill. In the beginning, progress felt slow and uncomfortable. She often questioned whether she was capable. Instead of quitting, she made a simple rule. She would practice for a fixed amount of time each day, regardless of how she felt. Some days were productive, others were not. But she showed up. Months later, others admired her confidence and assumed she was naturally talented. They did not see the days when doubt was louder than belief. They did not see the repetition. They did not see the attitude that carried her through inconsistency. Attitude shapes how you experience discipline. If you see discipline as restriction, it will feel heavy. If you see discipline as freedom from chaos, it becomes empowering. Discipline creates structure. Structure creates focus. Focus creates progress. There is also an important difference between intensity and sustainability. Intensity burns bright but fades quickly. Sustainability moves slower but lasts longer. A strong attitude values long-term growth over short-term excitement. In many areas of life, people wait to feel ready. But readiness is often the result of action, not the requirement. Discipline creates readiness through repetition. Attitude decides whether you are willing to begin before confidence arrives. Discipline does not eliminate struggle. It organizes it. It gives struggle a direction. It turns effort into investment rather than exhaustion. This shift changes how you relate to hard work. As you listen to this, reflect on where you rely too heavily on motivation. Ask yourself where discipline could serve you better. Not as punishment, but as partnership. Not as force, but as alignment. Your attitude toward discipline will determine whether your goals remain ideas or become realities. Motivation may start the journey, but attitude and discipline decide whether you finish it. When motivation fades, attitude remains, and in that space, real growth begins. Chapter 5. Success is often pictured as a sudden event, a promotion, an award, a recognition, or a breakthrough. People imagine it as a single moment when everything comes together. But in reality, success is a collection of small decisions, repeated actions, and silent choices that build over time. And at the heart of these choices is attitude. There was a young man who wanted to become a writer. He dreamed of seeing his name on bookshelves and inspiring others with his words. Every day, he wrote. Sometimes well, sometimes poorly. Sometimes words flowed like rivers, and other days the page stayed blank. He faced rejection letters, criticism, and doubt. Many people advised him to give up, to pursue something safer, to settle for comfort. But he had developed an inner habit, a strong attitude that valued persistence over praise. He continued, quietly, daily, without expectation. Years later, when his first book was published, people assumed success had arrived overnight. They saw the achievement, but not the countless mornings of quiet struggle, the evenings of self-doubt, or the discipline that carried him when inspiration was absent. That is the power of attitude. It sustains action when visibility, recognition, or reward is missing. Attitude also determines how you define success. Some measure it by wealth or status, others by applause or recognition. But the deepest and most sustainable form of success is internal. It is the feeling that you are living in alignment with your values, your purpose, and your potential. When attitude is strong, success becomes a reflection of effort rather than external validation. Many people sabotage their potential by attaching success to outcomes they cannot control. They wait for perfect timing, for approval, or for circumstances to align. They ignore that the only thing within their control is their response, their effort, and their mindset. A positive, responsible, and growth-oriented attitude turns effort into influence. Consider how a teacher views students. The same lesson may inspire one student and confuse another. A teacher with patience and belief in their students' capacity sees opportunity in every challenge. A teacher with frustration or impatience sees only resistance and failure. Attitude transforms how we perceive, interact, and impact the world around us. Success is also shaped by consistency. Small habits compounded over months and years often yield more than rare moments of brilliance. A resilient attitude ensures that you maintain consistency even when the world seems indifferent. The young writer continued writing daily, not for applause, but because he understood that growth emerges from practice. Attitude influences relationships as well. People are naturally drawn to those who carry hope, confidence, and calm resolve. They avoid negativity, cynicism, and constant complaints. By cultivating an attitude that values encouragement, empathy, and reliability, you not only strengthen your own path, but also create an environment where others can grow. Failure is inevitable in any journey. Even the most talented, disciplined, and hardworking individuals encounter setbacks. Attitude decides whether failure is destructive or instructive. One person may interpret failure as evidence of inadequacy. Another may see it as a lesson, a guide, and a step toward mastery. The difference is not circumstance, it is perspective. A critical part of this chapter is understanding that success is rarely linear. Life is filled with unexpected detours, delays, and challenges. Attitude enables you to navigate these twists without losing direction. It teaches patience, adaptability, and perseverance. The young writer also learned another truth: comparison is futile. Others may progress faster, achieve more recognition, or appear luckier. Attitude allows you to focus on your journey, your pace, and your growth. External measures become less significant when internal clarity guides your actions. Success, therefore, is not an event. It is a habit, a mindset, and a byproduct of sustained effort shaped by attitude. It begins in how you respond to disappointment, how you maintain discipline, how you speak to yourself in private, and how you persevere when no one is watching. This chapter invites you to reflect on your own definition of success. Are your goals driven by external approval or by internal growth? Are you willing to sustain effort when reward is delayed? Are you developing an attitude that protects consistency, resilience, and focus? Your attitude is the invisible architect of success. It determines whether your dreams remain visions or become tangible realities. By cultivating it thoughtfully, you transform ordinary choices into extraordinary results. Things do not happen when we want. People do not always appreciate effort. Dreams sometimes seem far away. Most people respond with frustration, anger, or giving up. But attitude changes everything. It is not about pretending life is perfect. It is about choosing how you respond to what happens. A young woman worked in a small shop. She wanted more for her life. Every day she faced rude customers, long hours, and little pay. She could have complained and quit. Many people around her said it was hopeless. But she decided to focus on what she could control. She worked with care, learned new skills, and stayed patient. Slowly, opportunities came. She got a better position, learned to manage a team, and eventually started her own small business. Attitude made the difference. It shaped her choices, her energy, and how others saw her. Life did not suddenly become easy. Challenges remained. But her attitude allowed her to use every difficulty as a lesson. Every setback became a chance to improve. Attitude also affects how we see ourselves. People with negative attitudes often think they are not capable. They focus on mistakes and failures. People with positive attitudes focus on learning and growth. They see challenges as chances to become stronger. This applies to education and work. A student who believes they can improve will keep trying even when the subject is hard. A worker who believes they can learn new skills will take on challenges without fear. Success is not only about talent. It is about effort guided by attitude. Attitude is also about discipline. It means doing what is needed even when you do not feel like it. Motivation comes and goes. Discipline stays. People with good attitude keep moving forward even when they are tired, sad, or discouraged. Another important part of attitude is resilience. Life will test you. Failures will happen. People may say no. Problems may appear suddenly. A strong attitude helps you recover quickly. It teaches you to try again, learn from mistakes, and not give up. Attitude changes how people see you. Optimism, patience, and care make people trust you. Negativity and complaints make people avoid you. Attitude influences relationships as much as skills or knowledge. Finally, attitude is about choices. Every day you make small decisions. How will you respond to problems? Will you complain or act? Will you learn from mistakes or feel defeated? Will you give up or keep going? These small decisions, repeated every day, create your future. Remember, life is not always fair. But your attitude can make you stronger than circumstances. It can turn small actions into big results. It can turn failure into lessons. It can turn ordinary days into steps toward your dreams. Your attitude is everything. It shapes your thoughts, actions, and future. Every choice you make builds it. Every response you have strengthens it. Take control of your attitude, and you take control of your life. Chapter 7. Many people believe confidence is something you are born with. They think some people are naturally confident while others are not. This belief is wrong. Confidence is built slowly, through experience, effort, and attitude. It grows from what you do repeatedly, not from what you wish for. A young student once avoided speaking in class. Every time the teacher asked a question, fear took control. The student knew some answers but stayed silent. Over time, silence became a habit. The attitude inside said, "Stay quiet, do not risk embarrassment." That attitude protected comfort, but limited growth. One day, the student decided to answer one small question. The voice shook. The answer was not perfect. But nothing bad happened. The world did not end. That moment planted a seed. The student answered again another day, then again. Slowly, confidence began to grow. Confidence is not the absence of fear. It is the ability to act even when fear is present. Attitude decides whether fear stops you or teaches you. People with strong attitudes do not wait to feel confident. They act first. Confidence follows action. In education, confidence improves learning. When students believe they can improve, they try harder. They ask questions. They accept feedback. When confidence is low, even simple tasks feel difficult. Attitude shapes this belief. It tells the mind whether to try or retreat. Confidence also affects decision-making. People with healthy confidence trust themselves. They do not rush. They do not freeze. They make choices and adjust when needed. They understand that mistakes are part of learning, not proof of failure. Another important part of confidence is self-respect. When you keep promises to yourself, confidence grows. When you say you will try and then avoid action, confidence weakens. Attitude decides how seriously you take your own words. Confidence is also built through patience. Growth takes time. Skills improve slowly. A good attitude accepts this truth. It focuses on progress instead of perfection. It allows mistakes without harsh judgment. Many people lose confidence because they compare themselves to others. They look at someone who is ahead and feel small. This comparison damages attitude. Everyone has a different path. Everyone learns at a different pace. A strong attitude keeps focus on personal growth, not competition. Confidence is quiet. It does not need to be loud or showy. It is calm and steady. It comes from knowing you can handle challenges, even if you do not know the outcome. This confidence is built through repeated effort, guided by attitude. Your attitude shapes how confident you become. Speak kindly to yourself. Take small risks. Learn from mistakes. Keep moving forward. Confidence will follow. When you choose action over fear, again and again, confidence becomes part of who you are. Chapter 8. Failure is something everyone wants to avoid. It feels uncomfortable. It hurts pride. It can make people doubt themselves. Because of this, many people fear failure more than they desire success. Attitude decides whether failure becomes an ending or a beginning. A man once started a small business with great hope. He invested time, energy, and belief. After months of effort, the business failed. Money was lost. Confidence was shaken. People around him said, "This is what happens when you take risks." For a while, he believed them, but slowly his attitude shifted. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" he asked, "What did this teach me?" He reviewed his mistakes. He learned about planning, patience, and decision-making. When he tried again, he was wiser. The second attempt succeeded not because luck changed, but because attitude changed. Failure does not mean you are incapable. It means something did not work as planned. These are very different things. When attitude confuses failure with identity, growth stops. When attitude separates failure from self-worth, learning begins. In education, students who fear failure avoid challenges. They choose easy tasks to protect their image. Students with healthy attitudes choose challenges because they value growth. They understand that mistakes are part of learning. Failure also teaches humility. It reminds us that growth requires effort and adjustment. People who never fail often stop learning. People who learn from failure continue improving. Attitude helps you stand up after falling. It reminds you that one moment does not define a lifetime. It encourages reflection instead of regret. It builds strength where comfort cannot. Many successful people faced failure early in life. What separated them was not talent, money, or support. It was attitude. They refused to let one loss decide their future. Failure also builds empathy. When you experience struggle, you understand others better. You become kinder, more patient, and more understanding. This emotional growth is another gift of failure when attitude is right. Do not avoid failure. Avoid refusing to learn from it. Every mistake carries a lesson. Every setback offers guidance. Attitude decides whether you listen. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of the path. Walk it with patience and courage. Let failure shape you, not stop you. With the right attitude, failure becomes a teacher instead of an enemy. Chapter 9. Your attitude does not live only inside your mind. It shows itself in how you treat people, in your words, in your patience, in how you listen, in how you react when others disagree with you. Relationships grow or break not because of big events, but because of daily attitudes. A young professional once joined a new workplace. The skills were there, but progress was slow. Conflicts happened. Small misunderstandings grew into tension. Instead of blaming others, this person chose a different attitude. They listened more. They spoke with calm. They stopped reacting quickly and started responding thoughtfully. Slowly, things changed. Trust grew. Communication improved. Opportunities followed. The work did not change. The attitude did. Attitude shapes communication. When attitude is negative, words carry blame and defensiveness. When attitude is positive, words carry respect and clarity. The message may be the same, but the impact is different. In families, attitude matters deeply. Patience builds understanding. Anger creates distance. A calm response can stop conflict before it grows. An aggressive attitude can turn small issues into lasting pain. In education and work, teamwork depends on attitude. Knowledge alone cannot create harmony. Respect, openness, and willingness to learn from others come from attitude. People prefer working with those who bring stability and fairness, not constant complaint. Attitude also shapes how you handle disagreement. Disagreement does not mean disrespect. A strong attitude allows discussion without ego. It listens without preparing an attack. It seeks understanding rather than victory. Another powerful part of attitude is gratitude. Gratitude shifts focus from what is missing to what is present. It improves mood, patience, and connection. A grateful attitude does not ignore problems. It simply refuses to be controlled by them. Relationships reflect attitude over time. People may forget your words, but they remember how you made them feel. Consistent kindness, honesty, and respect leave lasting impressions. Your attitude teaches people how to treat you. Calm confidence invites respect. Constant negativity invites distance. You shape your social world through attitude more than you realize. Strong relationships are built by small daily choices. Listening instead of interrupting. Understanding instead of blaming. Supporting instead of judging. These choices are guided by attitude. When you improve your attitude, you improve your relationships. And when relationships improve, life becomes lighter, calmer, and more meaningful. Your attitude is not only shaping your future, it is shaping the people around you every single day. Chapter 10. There comes a point in life when people realize that changing the world is hard, but changing attitude is possible. This realization is powerful. It shifts focus from waiting for life to improve to deciding how to face life as it is. A man once spent years blaming circumstances. He blamed his background, his luck, and the people around him. He believed that if life were different, he would be different. One day, after another disappointment, he asked himself an honest question. What if nothing changes around me, but I change how I respond? That question became the beginning of growth. Attitude is a daily choice. Every morning, you choose how you will face the day. You choose how you will respond to stress. You choose how you will treat people. These choices may seem small, but over time, they shape character. Character is built quietly. It is built when no one is watching. When you choose honesty over ease. When you choose patience over anger. When you choose effort over excuses. Attitude guides these choices. Life will test your attitude again and again. Some days will feel heavy. Some moments will hurt deeply. A strong attitude does not deny pain. It allows pain, but does not allow it to control actions. It chooses calm over chaos. Attitude also affects peace of mind. Many people chase happiness in achievements or approval. But peace comes from acceptance and responsibility. When attitude accepts what cannot be changed and works on what can be changed, stress reduces and clarity increases. In education, work, and personal life, people with balanced attitudes adapt better. They learn from change instead of fighting it. They remain flexible without losing values. This balance is a sign of maturity. Attitude grows stronger with reflection. Taking time to think about reactions, decisions, and patterns builds awareness. Awareness leads to better choices. Better choices lead to a better life. You do not need to be perfect. You only need to be honest and willing. Growth is not about never falling. It is about standing up with understanding instead of self-blame. Your attitude will shape your habits. Your habits will shape your lifestyle. Your lifestyle will shape your future. This chain begins with one decision at a time. Remember this clearly. You may not control everything that happens to you, but you always control how you respond. That control is power. When you choose a strong, patient, and responsible attitude, life becomes more manageable. Challenges become lessons. Effort becomes meaningful. Growth becomes steady. Your attitude is everything. Not because it changes the world instantly, but because it changes you. And when you change, your world slowly follows. Conclusion: life will never be perfect. Problems will come. Plans will fail. People will disappoint you. These things are part of being human. What truly decides your direction is not what happens to you, but how you respond to it. That response is your attitude. Throughout this book, one truth remains clear. Attitude shapes how you think, how you act, and how you grow. It guides you in failure, steadies you in success, and protects you during uncertainty. It turns effort into progress and struggle into learning. You do not need to change everything at once. Small shifts matter. Speaking kindly to yourself, choosing patience instead of anger, taking responsibility instead of blaming, continuing instead of quitting. These small choices build a strong attitude over time. Remember, attitude is not about pretending life is easy. It is about facing life honestly and still choosing to move forward. When you control your attitude, you gain control over your actions. And when you control your actions, you shape your future. Your attitude is everything. Guard it, train it, strengthen it. Because the life you build tomorrow begins with the attitude you choose today.